photo bomb. Video bomb. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jean Colbaz, presiding member for this morning's meeting. I'll declare the meeting open at 9:34 a.m. In doing so, I acknowledge we're hosting the meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia. Pay respects to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. This meeting will be run in accordance with DAP Standing Orders 2025 under the Planning and Development Act, Development Assessment Panels Regulations 2011. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development Assessment Panels Regulations 2011. Members are reminded to announce their name and title prior to speaking. During the meeting, members may refer to technical devices to assist them in considering the information before them. I'll introduce the members present today. To my left is Mr. Clayton Hyam, Deputy Presiding Member. Online we have Heidi Herget, Specialist Member. From the City of Wanneroo we have Councillor Sonnet Coetzee. And from the City of Joondalup we will have Councillors Adrian Hill and Councillor Nige Jones. I have apologies under item 2 on the agenda from Councillor Bronwyn Smith and Councillor Jacqueline Huntley from the City of Wanneroo, and Councillor Natalie Herridge and Councillor Rebecca Pizzi from the City of Joondalup. I think I've got Councillor Natalie Herridge from the City of Wanneroo as well. As a typo. Oh. Anyway, not to worry. Item 3 on the agenda is noted in the minutes. Previous minutes are available on the DAP website. Part B of the agenda is City of Wanneroo, and item 1, I will ask all panel members to advise that they have duly considered all documentation contained within Part B of the agenda and Part B related information by raising their hands. Thank you. It's all unanimous. Item 2, disclosures of interest. Do any members have an interest to declare today? If not, Councillor, was this item considered at the council meeting or briefing at all? Councillor Coetzee? It was not considered at the meeting, this item? No, thank you. Okay, item 3, we go on to the application for the proposed service station and vehicle wash at lot 2, 125 Butler Road, or Butler Boulevard, Butler. We do have one presenter, Mr. Alessandro Stagno, in support of the recommendation. Mr. Stagno, you have 3 minutes. If you'd like to make your presentation, please. We have a minute. And also we do have a written submission from Nada Raphael on behalf of the owner. Mr. Stagno, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presiding Member. Good morning to the panel members and everyone in attendance. I'm the applicant of the proposal for a service station and motor vehicle wash at 125 Butler Boulevard. Don't intend to wrap it on for too long. We support the RAR recommendation to defer the application for a further 90 days. We've made a fair amount of progress in the previous term of the deferral, but for a range of reasons, an appropriate alternate development scenario was only confirmed recently, which involves a new operator for the service station component. And we're just in the midst of finalising a revised layout and a slightly different application package, which we will be submitting imminently to the city. We're very, very confident that no further deferrals will be needed based on this package. It's going to involve the removal of both of the crossovers to Clayton Street, which will effectively resolve the core issues at hand, and also the objections raised by Ms. Raphael on behalf of Ms. Rellis, on behalf of Charter Hall. So on that basis, we respectfully request that the deferral for the 90 days be supported by the panel, and of course, happy to answer any questions as necessary.
Thank you very much. Panel members, any questions of Mr. Stanier? Councillor Summit? No? No? Thank you, Alessandro, for your presentation. We'll move into the item now. Oh, sorry. Officers, do you have any comment to make regarding the application?
No comment to make from us.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we'll move into the item. In order to do so, I will need a mover and seconder for the recommendation as published. Do I have a mover? Councillor Coetzee. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Hine. Thank you. Councillor Coetzee, you want to speak to the item, please? Sorry, we can't hear. Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I do not have much to say about it. I'll put over to the seconder.
Okay. Mr. Hine.
Thank you. Look, it's pretty straightforward. Both the applicant and the city are seeking a deferral. There seems to be a solution to the problem. So I'm happy to support the deferral for a further 90 days.
Thank you. Member Heidi Herget, do you wish to say anything, please?
Just apart from the fact that I concur with the recommendation as outlined in the RAR for an additional deferral of 90 days to resolve some of the access issues.
Thank you. I won't add to the item at all. Councillor Coetzee, do you wish to close debate, discussion? Okay, thank you. All right, then I'll put the recommendation as published to defer the item for a further 90 days. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll now move on to our, I'll make notes of previous meeting item 4, MODAP applications. Item 5, we'll set recommendations. Thank you, Councillor Coetzee, and the City of Joondalup. Honourable members, sorry. Thank you. Okay, Part C, City of Joondalup. We'll move into item 1 on Part C. I'll ask all panel members to indicate that they've duly considered all of the documentation within Part C of the agenda and Part C related information by raising your hands, please. Thank you to all of us. Disclosures of interest. Do any members have an interest to disclose? No. Councillors, were any of these items considered at council? No. No. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have the next item, item 3.1, which is for 9 group dwellings at number 2 and 4 Endeavour Road, Hillaries. And we do have a presentation from Mr. Michael Stocko from Developed. Michael, you have 3 minutes to make your presentation, please.
Is there a slide where you guys go through it for me? Well, thank you, members, this morning. So what we've got is a group dwelling development with a recommendation for approval, and we are in support of the recommendation and conditions. The process has been quite a long one, but we have gone in the end through the city support. Joondalup have been quite pleasant to deal with the handling of the application, and the agenda report reflects that. This is I guess a discretionary item in that the R codes have been used to their fullest extent, and there is always a place for a design principles outcome, and that's what you have before you today. So for most of the variations in support, and we've done everything that we can to sort of get a good design outcome, both through the design review panel and through the city. Go to the next slide, please. variations on the board. So again, just to keep it short, we're in complete support of the recommendation, and we just encourage the panel today to see it that way. If you have any questions, we have the design team here for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you much. Panel members, do you have any questions of the presenter? Yes, Councillor Hill.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. Actually, the first slide was quite interesting and relevant to what I'm going to say, so I'm going to get that back on the screen. It might be helpful. I note that all the residences have double garages and that adequate access routes are provided to each of those garages. I couldn't ascertain clear access routes for vehicles accessing the visitor parking bays. On the first slide, you could see actually that one. Yep, you could actually see cars parked in there. Assuming that vehicles are intended to drive forwards into the crossover, and from the slide you could see they were facing away, so presumably the plan is they drive in forwards and reverse in or slide into those bays. But could you just confirm to me the manoeuvres that the proponent intends that those vehicles actually take to exit the visitor car park? Primarily, I'm trying to ascertain whether those vehicles are intended to reverse out onto the carriageway, or whether your intention is that they have adequate room to turn around prior to exit. Thank you.
So thank you, member. So there is a traffic report. Would probably be better to put it through to Irby. I don't know if they're in the meeting.
I didn't see any clarification within the to be honest.
Is Paul present?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's 20 minutes.
We get Paul to speak to that for you. Thank you.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, Paul.
Hi. So just starting my video. Thank you for your time today. I'm just trying to bring up the swept path. So we did have swept paths in our report, which I believe is being provided. I'll just check. Right. Okay. So what I've envisioned for these bays is just bring up the plan on my screen. Yeah, so people would drive in forward gear into the site, and they would reverse into the bay to park, and then when they want to exit the site, they can actually drive forwards and then they turn right into into the secondary parking aisle. So they forward, turn right, and then reverse, and then drive forward out. So it would be undertaking a 3-point turn within the site to drive out in forward gear.
May I continue?
Yeah, to answer the question, we don't envision that cars will reverse out to Endeavour Road.
Okay, I acknowledge your response. I'm just very always concerned about when I see people traversing into the carriageways. So I didn't see a swept path for the visitor parking within the report. It seemed to cover all the garages quite adequately.
Yeah.
I just wonder whether there's any merit in having any signage to indicate to drivers that they should, do the 3-point turn as suggested and drive out forwards. It's because human nature is such that inevitably some people will choose to just pull out into the main driveway there and just reverse out into the carriageway, and I just consider that to be inherently unsafe. So I'm just interested in your opinion as to whether any prompts need to be done to clarify your intentions to people using those bays. Thank you.
I mean, usually we try to minimize the extent of regulation and signage unless it's absolutely critical. It's just a general principle. The main roads calls it proliferation of traffic control devices. Personally, I think it's only 9 dwellings, it's a small scale development. I'm not anticipating a huge number of vehicles using those bays. I don't anticipate a high turnover for the visitor parking bays. But I would be more leaving it to people to maneuver, and I think it's intuitive. But if the panel requests some signage as a condition of approval, that maybe we could put on the fence next to those parking bays, just to say, I don't know, something like do a U-turn and drive out in forward gear. It's just not really a sign that's usually used in my experience for these types of sites. There's not a standard do a 3-point turn sign for internal car park, so it would have to be a custom signage, and we try to avoid that if possible, just because people aren't used to those types of signs. So it's not something we would normally put. I would be inclined to just leave it as it is, in my opinion.
Okay, well, road safety is a big issue for me, and my feeling that suitable signage would be more in line with please exit driving forwards. Quite simple like that, rather than overcomplicating the situation. I just think human nature is such that it's inevitable. Some people will choose to drive out of there. You've not only got the danger of reversing into the carriageway, but also people might be walking past at the time. I'm always in favour of driving forwards when exiting these kind of facilities. So I'll leave my question there, but you've answered the question. I've given you my comments. But just also, if I may continue.
Yes.
Yeah, just noting the amount of discretion that's been applied by the city on this, and I'm just interested in general comments from the proponent in terms of the challenges of trying to meet requirements and why it's in this instance the significant number of areas of the design have been subject to discretion. I just wonder whether the challenge is to actually meeting and avoiding those discretion calls. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, member. Yeah, so from the outset, we tried to get the design as compliant as possible through the DRP to make them satisfied with the outcome. And then I guess following on from there, the officers were able to take the design comments and the amendments that we made and apply the design principles in their right. So it was acknowledged through the city that the deemed to comply outcome probably wasn't a possibility given the restrictions of the site, and that's why we've gone down the design principle route. It's not to say that it's not possible. That's the purpose of the R code. So I guess it's a give and take, and that's what's the city's been able to put together with the recommendation.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from panel members of the presenters? Yes, Councillor Jones.
Just a comment. I think that the co-development is a positive housing opportunity satisfying the design elements. I think it's good.
Okay, thank you. Member Hergen.
Yeah, just a quick question to the applicant and or the traffic consultant. I think what I'm hearing, and I'm well aware, there's no guarantee that visitors will enter the site, do a 3-point turn internally and then reverse into bays, or similarly reverse into the site. There's no control post commissioning. I appreciate that. Has there been some consideration of putting in a convex mirror to assist drivers reversing so that they have a heads up to what's actually traveling southbound on Endeavour Road, so that it reduces the potential for conflict?
Yes, thank you, member. Look, it hasn't been contemplated, but I don't see why it couldn't be encouraged through a building permit or through a condition of approval, or even through the bylaws for when these dwellings are occupied. So it could be something that can be accommodated, but I would probably refer back to Paul. Guide traffic in such a small area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you. In my view, I don't think the safety mirror is warranted. Again, I try to follow the principle of trying to minimize proliferation of traffic control devices. So we try to be sparing with signage, mirrors, painted markings, because if you can imagine, we have a series of these developments. For what I'm seeing here is a standard double width driveway that can support two-way traffic flow on it, and it's connecting to 9 dwellings, which is, it's not a lot of traffic. If we have to adopt that type of principle, then we'll be having safety mirrors along every driveway when we're developing these. So I'm just being mindful, just when I approach these in general, unless I see a substantial reason outside the norm why we might need a safety mirror here. I don't know if people would use it if you're reversing, say you park at your house, just a detached dwelling, and you're reversing out of your driveway, you can look left and right. You don't use a safety mirror to do that, and I think maybe safety mirror in some ways could be harder to judge distances and vehicle speed. So it's preferable for people to just look out of the window if they can, unless there's some reason why they can't just look down the road that they need the safety mirror. So we would usually put them around bends or where there's some physical structure obstructing the sight lines, which we don't have here. So in my view, I think we don't need it. If you're suggesting to put it for the Endeavour Road driveway, if it's internally at the corner, because you do have a 90-degree bend internally in the site, then we could put it internally just to help people see around that 90-degree bend. I think that would be fine. But in terms of putting it outside, you'd also have to look at where it would be installed. Would it be within the road reserve? And then that could have complications as well, because usually safety mirror would try to install it within the property, and then maybe the functionality of it would be restricted due just to the dimensions of the verge, the width of that verge. So in my view, I think it's not something that we need.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Council staff, do you have any comments to make from the presentation and questions that have been asked to date?
Thank you, Presiding Member. Yes, Adam Wood from the City of Joondalup here. Probably just a couple of quick points just to point out, and I believe Member Hill almost foreshadowed this somewhat. Probably just highlighting it as was outlined in the RAR, the discretions that are being sought and what the applicants tried to achieve with this site, the city is quite supportive of overall. We're in a bit of a unique position at the moment. So as we tried to outline within the Responsible Authority report, we currently have a local planning policy for our housing opportunity areas in which this site sits, which is currently under review and has been reviewed by the Statutory Planning Committee on the 10th of September, which has gone through with a couple of changes as well. That policy, or the draft policy, is still to be presented through to council for its formal adoption, but there are a few elements within that draft policy which removed a lot of the provisions within the current policy and aligned it with the R codes. So the applicant's actually done a really good job to try and align the proposal with the R codes as much as possible. And a lot of the discretions are a result from the city's framework and its transitional period. So what we've sought to do is provide a bit of a balanced report to show what's currently being proposed in our current frameworks, as well as what's going to be intended under the future frameworks. So from the city's perspective, we definitely commend the applicant on what they're seeking, and believe that the proposal does meet the intended future planning framework, and are supportive in that regard. Just also in regards to the comment from Member Hill around signage for visitor bays, there is the condition 7, which has been recommended to put forward, which includes the marking and signage for visitor bays. There is the potential, and should the panel see fit, to potentially expand on that to find some clarity around what that signage might look like. But there is a provision or a condition in there that will require signage and marking for those bays already. So just that point there.
Okay, I think you might have meant condition 8. That's correct.
Yes, you would be correct there. Correct.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, any further questions of Mr. Wood? No. Councillor Hill? No.
If I may, yes, I just, Mr. Wood, just thanks for your comments. Just on that issue, I just wonder whether the city generally would have a feeling as to, because I know that for the residents, it's very clear that people will drive in forwards, go into their garages and drive out forwards. Perfectly happy with that. City generally, would you like to comment on whether there's a feeling that reversing out of there is undesirable, and therefore whether it would be appropriate to give some signage to, not, you know, I'm not talking big signs here. I noticed about the comments about proliferation of signs. I would have thought that road safety trumps that, and I'm not talking a proliferation of signs here. I'm talking a simple guidance, just to try and avoid the scenario of people reversing out. Interested in any comments from the city as to whether the city will be supportive of any efforts to try and just give some indication that drivers should drive out forwards from the facility. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, presiding member, the city's position, so the traffic reporting and flow of traffic from the plans was assessed by the city's traffic and technical officers. From our position, it's probably neither here nor there. Obviously, a preference always is a vehicle to enter in a forward gear. However, there's no general requirement within that proximity or distance from the roadway that should occur. If there was signage, that would be great, but we wouldn't have a position either way, whether it was reversing out or exiting in a forward gear.
Yeah. Any further questions?
No, just comment that that's, you know, a planning
comment.
matter.
Okay. Questions. Okay. I'll just have a question, Mr. Wood, regarding vehicles driving out. There's a number of unit developments in and around that area. To your knowledge, are there any signs or convex or concave mirrors required at their approvals?
Thank you, and through you, presiding member, no, not to my knowledge. I do not believe that we've used convex mirrors or any signage for those similar developments.
Okay, and in terms of the vehicles, I'll talk about that later. Okay, thank you. No, I don't have any further questions. If nobody else has of the staff, thank you very much, presenters and Mr. Woods. We'll now move on in the agenda to address the application through the RA. In order to do so, I'll be the mover and seconder for the panel to debate the item. Do I have a mover? Oh, Councillor Hill.
I'm happy to move, but I might flag that I want to propose a slight amendment to condition 8.
That's fine. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jones. Councillor Hill, please.
Yes, thank you. I note that the city has applied discretion to numerous elements of this proposed development and has determined a recommendation that the proposal be approved. I have visited the site and note that the character of this development is not inconsistent with some of the adjacent properties that have replaced the original houses in the area. As I've alluded to, I do have a road safety concern with vehicles exiting, so I would like an appropriate time to propose a slight amendment to condition 8.
Now as good a time as any.
Okay, can I therefore propose a slight amendment to condition 8?
So this is amendment number 1.
Yep.
And your wording?
So at the moment, there is wording: the 2 designated visitor car parking bays are a clearly delineated brackets marked / sign to the satisfaction of the city. I would like to add additional words to say with clear indication that cars must exit onto Endeavour Road in a forward gear.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that proposed amendment? No, we don't have a seconder. Your motion is for want of a seconder.
Okay, I'll continue to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, just to clarify that point, I'm a professional driver, and road safety is very important to me. And I do see driver behaviour every day of the week in all kinds of situations, and I'm extremely concerned that that cars will reverse there and across a footpath. These days there are e-scooters that go up and down these footpaths any time of day, could be in darkness, onto a main road. I'm very uncomfortable with that. However, this is a planning decision, a planning matter, and I'm disappointed that the slight change to improve road safety is not being supported. However, in that light, I revert to being supportive of the recommendation before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. A seconder?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good design, well needed, positive housing opportunity. I'm unfortunately not in for signage litter, so that's why I didn't support Councillor Hill on that one. But yeah, no, I think it's a good project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other panel members wish to speak in support? Member High.
Thank you. This is a very good development from my point of view. It's in the housing opportunity area, covered by this local planning policy, which is draft form at the moment. It's compliant or largely compliant, but there's some discretion required. I note the objections from land or from the local community, and they're mostly around traffic issues and just on traffic issues. I agree with Councillor Jones about the signage. To me, it's fairly common sense. It's a very small development, and we're only talking about 2 visitor bays. And I think, to me, it's fairly evident what you would do if you are in the site and to leave the site in a forward motion. The mix of 2 and 3 stories is appropriate and contributes to the interesting streetscape from my point of view. The height and bulk and scale of the development is appropriate within the context of its setting. The discretion sought in this regard is considered acceptable, as there is not any discernible amenity impact on the neighbouring properties. The proposal includes 20 trees across the site, with additional birch trees proposed. And that's through an updated landscape plan. Discretion is sought in relation to private open space, as the RAR advises that while not meeting the dimensions in some locations, the areas remain functional. Discretion is also sought in relation to the setbacks and possible invasion of privacy. It's evident that this is minor, and any overlooking is limited to the roof spaces or uninhabitable spaces. Otherwise, adequate screening has been proposed. Other discretions involve minor reductions in internal dimensions and space, but the units remain very functional. Overall, I'm very supportive of the development. I think it's a good development, so I'm happy to support it as it is.
Thank you. Member who do you wish to speak to the item?
Yes, I'm supportive of the application and the recommendation in the RER. It's an appropriate use and density on a site in an area that's afforded very high quality and highly evolved infrastructure, in particular cycling and walking networks, the road network, proximity to local services and retail and commercial developments. It's in an area that's been designed and delivered as a very permeable grid of roads, in that there's a reasonable distribution of traffic across the area. I don't see any road safety concerns. The layout internal from a movement network perspective, I think, is appropriate. I don't see any safety issues associated with reversing out onto Endeavour Road. It's a minor road by comparison to Cook Avenue. The layout of the site is, I think, relevant and appropriate, so I support the application.
Thank you. As panel member, I too support the application. There's been some submissions, but not too many, and they principally talk about traffic and the third story element of a couple of the units, which I support, the 3 stories. The design review panel was supportive and gave good response, and the second submission adequately addressed the feedback from the design review panel. Yes, there were a number of items that did not meet the deemed to comply provisions of the local planning policy or the R codes. However, they were thoroughly assessed under the design principles, and I think the variations to the deemed to comply were supported. The development is consistent with the zoning and land use objectives of the residential zone. And I think in terms of the access and the manoeuvring for the visitors' bays, we only have 2 visitors' bays. The rest of the traffic internally will be able to exit in a forward direction. Whether they do or not is problematic. There's no controls on that. As there are no controls on the tens of thousands of single residential properties that have double garages and double driveways. I think if we're going to put signage up, we'd have to put it up on every development. And once again, I don't see proliferation of signage as a good idea. I think the education of drivers and pedestrians and e-scooter riders is the thing to do. But you can take a horse to water, can't make a drink, unfortunately. So I'm supporting what I think is a high standard of architectural design and urban form, and it responds well to the site constraints. So I'm fully supportive of it. That being the case, I'll get back to the mover, Councillor Hill.
Yes, to close, thank you. So just to comment on road safety again. So I do pay attention to road safety statistics, and I do see an alarming number of accidents occur with people reversing off their residential driveways, which is why I always reverse in and drive up forwards. I do note from the report that there is no record of traffic accidents in the immediate vicinity, and let's hope that that continues. I certainly hope it does. And about the word proliferation, it's not a word I would use. I was simply talking about one sign or one indication, could be a road marking, painting, or whatever, just to help overcome that issue with lack of driver education. So I remain concerned about that, but support the proposal before us. Thank you.
Thank you. That being the case, I'll now put the recommendation as printed. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. So item 4 on the agenda is amendment to commercial development condition, lot 12, Marina Boulevard, Ocean Reef. There is one presenter, and in accordance with standing orders, the presentation is limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Chris Nolan from Urbis. When you're ready, please.
good morning, panel members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this morning on what hopefully is a relatively minor matter that we can work through fairly quickly. Saracen, represented by Jason Potolivo, has been rapidly redeveloping the Ocean Reef Shopping Centre, and as we would have seen from the RAR, it's actually achieved practical completion on a number of pad sites in the northern portion of the shopping centre, adjacent to Pringle Street, including this site here. As you'll be aware, the application is a single matter item seeking to extend trading hours for the NCAP drive-through tenancy to cater for a gourmet burger and coffee joint as opposed to a coffee shop, drive-through coffee shop previously, which we believe will complement the uses on site. The extension of the trading hours, in my view, is entirely suitable in the context, being a commercial zone. You often see 24/7 facilities and outlets and tenancies in similar zones. And whether or not closing hours 9 p.m, 10 p.m, or 11 p.m, is our view that the application is compliant from a noise regs perspective. We have Herring Store online today if there are questions in that regard. This all taken into consideration through the advertising period and negotiation with the City of Joondalup. Saracen have agreed to reduce operating hours from 11 to 10 as our preference. We've done some traffic work to prove up that the additional traffic is okay in terms of surrounding capacity of the road network. We've also offered up the 1.2 metre half wall on the corner of Venturi Drive and Kringle Street to minimise the impact of headlight glare, which is a real issue, and we've responded to it. In conclusion, in reality, we think this is a relatively straightforward matter. Zoning and the use is compliant. We've asked for the additional hour. The additional hour really is being a gourmet burger joint. You're probably going to have more people dining in as opposed to the drive-through. So it's allowing for that slightly extended amount of trade, which is suitable for a preference with dining in. That's all that I really want to cover off. I've got Jason here. I've got Jeff from Herring Store. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Panel members, any questions of the presenters? Member Herget?
Yeah. Just quickly to the applicant, just a couple of questions relating to the existing approval, I believe, is until the NCAP tenancies to close at 6 p.m. and you're proposing up to 10 p.m. Does this give rise or potentially give rise to any changes in your service delivery and waste management protocols on the site?
I believe not. No, it doesn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jones, you had a question?
Yes, look, I've got lots of concerns, and I know local residents have complained about this proposal, and I think they've got some good arguments, which I'd just like to ask questions to. And one of them is, it's apples and oranges. From a coffee shop to what we're doing now is completely different, and people will be staying longer. It will take longer to cook. So I just don't see how we can compare the traffic and noise comparisons for a coffee shop to what is now proposed. Does he want to comment on that?
Look, from a use class perspective, from a planning perspective, we're not changing anything. I take the point that coffee and burgers is something different. We have considered the acoustics. Again, as I've said, whether it's 9, 10 or 11, we believe it's noise reg compliant. We're happy with the condition pre and post in relation to that compliance, which has been put forward. So I note that it is different in terms of its nature, but from a planning perspective, it is not. It is also a commercial zone. Yeah. It's not a mixed use zone or a mixed business zone where you have the integration of residential and commercial zone. And my client reminded me, going back a couple of years, that this was the original location of the Chicken Treat, which traded till 11 p.m. This is before the redevelopment, correct, Jason? Yeah. So the nature of the use is entirely consistent with the zone. We acknowledge some of the comments from the landowners, but we think a 10 p.m. close is reasonable, and we get it, it's a very suburban context, but 10 p.m. is reasonable, as I said from the outset, to allow for a little bit more extended, predominantly in dining, because people probably go there a bit more to go sit and have a burger. That's why they've asked for the additional hour. There's still food prep, there's still vehicles coming, we've done the noise, we've done the additional traffic work, so certainly take those points on board, but it's an amended application. I guess that's why we're asking the question. Looking forward to
another question, if I may.
Yes.
From where the booth is, where you give out the food, the burgers, I can actually throw a stone from there to one of the neighbours' houses. So how is a 1.2 wall going to deflect the headlights going into his property, please?
I think it's not there. It's kind of more on the corner as they're turning, Jason, that's correct?
Turning through.
That's where you're going to have your maximum exposure in terms of headlight glare to the adjacent residents. So bang for buck, there's the shield in terms of where the service counter is, but it's the turn on the bend where we've sought to put in the wall, which we think will have maximum bang for buck in terms of reducing headlight glare.
And the traffic coming in at just before 10 o'clock to get an order is actually entering from Kringle Street, which is where the neighbours' houses are. And what's your response to that?
It hasn't changed.
Okay, look, I'll let someone else take some questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any further questions, Councillor Hill?
Yes, thank you, through you, presiding member. Just regarding to the 1.2 metre half wall, I was looking at the drawings and I can clearly see where the wall is intended to be constructed. I couldn't see any images or elevations showing what the wall would look like. Is it a brick wall or is it some other type of solid wall? Thank you.
It's a solid wall which we worked in with the City Council planning staff a few weeks back, and it has been drawn up. So sorry if it's not there. But yeah, so
rendered brick finish.
Yeah, initially it was supposed to, we were looking at bladed, but then it's gone as a solid wall, obviously to screen the lights, which is also worth noting that the site is actually below street level anyway.
Okay, thank you. So I'll take it as read that it's a solid 1.2 metre high wall. I would like to refer to a submission made by Mr. Michael Jolly, and I presume that you've seen that. I appreciate commercial confidentiality, and you may not be able to reply to this point, but Mr. Jolly has indicated that he has some knowledge of the proposed tenants. So I'd like to give the opportunity to the proponent to clarify if that's correct or not correct, if you are able to do so. Thank you.
As to who the tenant is?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Paddy Smith Burgers. I did read one of the comments about one of the objections about knowing a number of tenants that may like to go into it as a drive-through coffee. We've completed this building. We've been trying to lease the space for the last 18 months. We have coffee shops going into the main shopping centre. Obviously, it was starting to prove it competing with itself. So we had other fast food operators that wanted to go into the site. We chose Paddy Smith's because it wasn't a national brand. We've been to two of their other establishments. We're happy with their offering. At the end of the day, we feel that it's a complementary use to what's also going into the centre. Where there's a tavern that's proposed, that's been approved on the upper levels that will trade past this as well. And obviously we didn't want the hours to conflict with that, so we looked at a reduced time.
Okay, can I continue on that subject? So noting the general information provided about the proposed operator and the clarification you've just given, I am genuinely, and noting that the proposed operation starts at 6 in the morning, I'm genuinely interested in understanding what the breakfast offerings would be. This is simply because I'd be surprised if patrons would be seeking to order burgers for breakfast at 6 in the morning.
It's coffee. They see there's an opportunity. We always felt there's an opportunity for drive-through coffee. That's why we did it initially. And we pushed them to do that as part of their business offering. It's something that they haven't done before. We feel that there's a need in the area, and it would be frequented, obviously, by the community. And I think it's complementary to their business. But having coffee only in the morning. So it's something that they haven't done, and they're not looking to do burgers.
Okay, and if I may just clarify.
Not doing the bacon and egg McMuffin.
No, that could be, yeah, anyway.
Look, their menu doesn't cater for it.
That's my train of thought. Comment. So just to clarify then, is the coffee just window service only drive-through, or would the restaurant be open? What time would the restaurant therefore be open?
I'm not too sure, sorry, but I know it's drive-through coffee only.
Okay, I'm just looking at this from both ends of the operating hours in the interest of nearby residents, and I get the impression from this that in the early morning period up till I guess 9 o'clock in the morning, then what you're telling us is that primarily it's just your vehicles going through the drive-through to pick up coffee, and you can have people outside their cars to visit the restaurant at the time. So that's perfectly fine. And then if I may just continue on the closing time, the recommendation before us, as you've seen, is for closure at 9 p.m, which would be consistent with the service station and with the, I think it's the chicken treat.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I did see a comment in your submission to the effect that if need be, you would be willing to accommodate the 9 o'clock closure, and I presume that the proponent would also, given that we've named them, would be willing to do so. Just seeking confirmation that that 9 p.m. closure will be a showstopper. Thank you.
No, it won't be a showstopper. As I mentioned, the preference is for that additional hour, because this will function in the view of Jason that it's probably more of a restaurant than the fast food, drive-through. So that additional hour is there primarily for those dine-in customers. But 9 p.m. is not a showstopper, as Jason mentioned. He's 18 months trying to get a tenant for this. So if it's 9 p.m, it's 9 p.m. We're not going to dine in. It's just a preference.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Member Hine.
If it is largely dine-in for at end hour, is there a compromise solution whereby the drive-through could close at 9 o'clock, but the restaurant remain open till 10?
I don't know. That's a tenant question.
Tenant specific, but I can't see why not.
Is that a possible workable solution?
Yeah.
If we could shut at 9 and then the dine in, yes. Yeah. We're talking on behalf of the tenant, but yes, it could be. It could be. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. If that's the case, thank you for your presentation. Mr. Wood, are you there to comment on any of the discussion to date on the application?
Yes, thank you, presiding member. I believe I need, there we go. The video is being allowed now.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. I guess as has been presented and discussed already, this is a Form 2 application. So at the crux of it, we're looking at the change to the operational hours, not a change to the use that's being proposed, although the city does acknowledge that the original proposal was for a coffee shop, and it does change this to now, I guess, a more akin to a fast food outlet by definition. What we've looked at with this one was a lot around the history of the site and the history of the previous approval that was granted by the DAP. As part of those discussions, there was a lot of concern and as was reflected through the conditions at the time around amenity impacts, particularly to the surrounding residential property, not just those on Kringle Street, but some of the other surrounding residents as well. And that culminated in conditions such as condition 11, which looked at the restriction of operational hours, as well as condition 14, which requires an operations management plan for the site as well, to look at aspects such as antisocial behaviour and more broadly the site operations and management. The city were generally comfortable with the information provided by the applicant around matters such as acoustic, and we're obviously supportive of the inclusion of the screen wall for headlight glare as well. We're satisfied that the impacts on traffic utilising existing crossovers would not be an issue. However, what we did look at with this, and in line with the existing approved uses on site, being the service station and the additional fast food outlet, is at the time that the agreed position was a 9 p.m. closure for those uses to try and mitigate some of these amenity impacts on those surrounding residences. And that's where the city has fallen with our recommendation to align the proposed end cap with those operational hours so that there's no staggering of operations between the site. And it's a uniform closing at 9 o'clock for all three of those uses on site. And we saw that as a reasonable outcome, both from an operations and a balance on amenity impact to the adjoining neighbours as well.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of Mr. Wood? Councillor Jones?
Mr. Wood, how do we communicate with the residents when things have changed from when it was first approved for a 6 p.m. Finish, and now we're talking 9 p.m. and it is so close to Mr. Jolly's property?
Thank you, and through you, presiding member. So the city, as part of this application, and as we generally would with a lot of DAP applications, we do undertake consultation. So that did occur for this process, and as is standard, highlights what changes are being sought from the proponent. I acknowledge that this isn't a city-led request to change these plans. It is developer-driven. So the city just reflects what is being sought at the time and allows that opportunity for residents to take comments. And the city takes that on board as we're required to under clause 67 of the regs to consider any submissions made. That does form part of the city's consideration and part of what we're looking at as well in terms of how we manage or measure those amenity impacts to what is reasonable based on what the community's expectation is.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Hill?
Yes, thanks to you, presiding member. I heard a comment earlier from the proponents alluding to the fact that there may have been a chicken treat at this site previously operating until 11 p.m. I just wonder whether the city has any knowledge of that, and if so, could confirm whether it's close to the proposed location of this facility. Thank you.
Thank you, through you, presiding member. I believe that is correct, that there used to be a chicken treat at this location. As to the specifics in terms of its operational hours, I would have to go back through some records. I don't have that on hand, unfortunately, but I'm aware that this site was historically a chicken treat, correct?
Thank you.
Yes. Member Home?
Thank you. Mr. Wood, would it be fair to say that when developing the residential area or moving into the residential area, it was pretty clear that there's a commercially zoned piece of land opposite?
Thank you, through you, presiding member. Yes, that would be correct. This site has been, as far as to my knowledge, always been commercial zoned and an activity centre within the city's planning framework. Again, similarly, if anything was to change, generally the local community would be advised and consulted with if anything was to change. But as far as I'm aware, this site has and always has been a commercial zone site.
Do you have any comments on the suggested compromise that I put to the applicants in relation to closing times for the drive-through being at 9, but the in-house dining 10 o'clock?
Thank you, through you, presiding member. It was something that did come up through early discussions with the applicant around any flexibility in their operational times. The city made it quite clear from an early outset that any consistency with our preference would be that it would be a 9 o'clock. I guess from the city's perspective, we'd prefer a consistent approach. So whether it was both or either, preference would be 9 o'clock for both, just to ensure that it's nice, smooth and consistent transition with the site, rather than having that staggering of uses through the drive-through and the dining component. That I do obviously acknowledge some merit in doing that, in managing some of those impacts. However, the city's preference would be just a clean 9 o'clock for both.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. That being the case, we will now move in as a panel to discuss the item. So I will require a mover and seconder. Do I have a mover for the applications? Councillor Hill. Seconded. Member Hyam, thank you. Councillor Hill.
Yes, thank you. So I have visited the site and I do know the concerns of residents. However, given that the service station and one fast food outlet already there are already approved to operate until 9 p.m, I consider that it is not unreasonable for the NCAP facility to also operate until 9 p.m. I feel that if all of those facilities close at 9 p.m, it would discourage activity in the car park area beyond that time, which would be beneficial to nearby residents. And as discussed earlier, I'm comfortable that this facility would not introduce disruption to residents in the early mornings, as it's a simple drive-through coffee that's being proposed. So in view of that, and in view of the fact that it's a commercial site located next to a residential area, I'm comfortable to endorse the recommendation before us. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Hyam.
Thank you. Just as I suppose a reminder, this is a Form 2 and our discussions or our consideration ought only be around what is proposed, which is change to the times. And for these types of uses, the closing times recommended, in my view, are quite early, particularly given it's in a designated commercial area. And with that comes, or should come, expectations from the local community. They should understand that they are next to a designated commercial area. However, given the comments received from the local community, and I think the acceptance at this stage by the applicant to run with the 9 p.m. closure, I'm happy to support that closure. But what I would suggest, after operating for a period of time, it might be that the applicant could come back with a further change to the times to, probably for the whole centre, to seek a further extension through a further application. But at this stage, I'm happy to support the proposal as recommended. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other panel member wish to speak for or against the item? Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Look, I'm fully supportive of the Ocean Reef Shopping Centre. I was on the duck when we passed it, but unfortunately, I do think we've moved the goalposts on the immediate residents to where this site is located. It's extremely close, and I think operating after 6 p.m. is a blatant disregard to the surrounding residents on this part of the commercial site. So unfortunately, I'm going to go against my grain, which I normally go for destinations and shopping centres, but this is just too close to a few of the residents' property, and I think we're selling them short. So I won't be supporting this.
Thank you. Member Herget, do you wish to speak to the item?
No.
Okay. Look, I'm supportive of the change to the 9 p.m. closure for the end unit. The applicants have modified their request and also incorporated a screen to ameliorate any lighting or vehicle lights, and I'm sure that the wall itself will improve the acoustics from vehicles that are going through that drive-through, and the acoustics reports back up the fact that there won't be too much additional noise or impact on nearby residents, who I agree a lot of people perceive a lot of noises, and hopefully that the extent of changes made by the proponents will reduce the perception of noise as well. So I'm supporting the proposed recommendation in the draft. That being the case, we've all had a chance to discuss. I'll go back to Councillor Hill to close debate on the item.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. So So as I say, we've asked questions today and sought clarification on some points, and appreciate the confirmation of the potential operator of the facility, which assists us to understand how this will work going forward. I'm comfortable in endorsing the recommendation by the city. I think it's a pragmatic and appropriate response to coordinate closure of all those facilities at 9 p.m. I think that would be beneficial to nearby residents and also to users of the establishments on this commercial site. So I have no hesitation in supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Being the case, I'll put the item to a vote. All those in favour? That's 4 against. 1. Councillor Jones against. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Part B, Part C, item 5, SAP reconsiderations. There are none. Moving on to Part D, other business. Item 1, SAT application, Supreme Court Appeals. There's only one, City of Kwinana. Item 2 on the agenda is close of business at 10:39 a.m. Thank you. Thank you, presenters who have left the building. Panel members, council staff and support staff from the DAP Secretary. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
4-1.